Let's hope I'm live. Hey, Amanda. Let me know if I didn't just freeze. Hey, everybody on YouTube. Sorry, started both at the same time here. Just want to make sure I did not freeze on TikTok because I had to turn my little thing off. So just let me know, TikTokers, that I didn't freeze. I'm good. I had to turn off my little do not disturb or turn on my do not disturb thing, and I'm a little nervous about it. Hopefully it didn't. Hey, you guys on YouTube as well. I'm good. Okay, good. That's good to hear. Woo! Hey, everybody. Woo. I kind of was a little late today. I was getting everything ready, wasn't looking, and then I was like, I've got 3 minutes. Woo! All right. I am good. We've got, well, as you know, first 5 minutes, we kind of hang. We let people amble in. So until 5 after, well, maybe 6 after, since I started 2 minutes late. Hey, Barcelona. Give a hello to everybody where you hail from, if you would. We'd like to kind of start the show with folks talking about where they are. Turn that down a little bit. There we go. TikTok's a little better. YouTube's a little better. Excellent. Woo! Wow. How's everybody? Things are pretty good here. There's a lot of the good mic. Of course, I don't have the good mic on my TikTok. See, this is what happens when I start late. I get all the confusing stuff. Hold on, guys. Dortmund, Germany, Portugal. One moment. All right. My TikTok mic. I can't go without my TikTok mic. Now, hopefully, I'm in the well, maybe not stereo sound, but better sound on TikTok. There we go. Myrtle Beach. Everybody just introduce Lithuania. Nice. Everybody introduce yourselves. I hear the Belarusians are moving some equipment towards Lithuania. They're trying to scare you guys, apparently. I'm not quite sure you should be scared of them, to be honest. But actually, let me rephrase that. There's no reason for you to be afraid of them, but nonetheless, they're trying to scare you guys. Oh, by the way, I did check. We go for a couple minutes, folks, just to let folks filter in. So if you're joining us right now, understand that it's going to take a minute. Very interesting. What's happening? Oh, yeah. So for Facebook, apparently people on Facebook are unable to comment or something. And I am trying to figure out why it will not let me turn on whatever it is that lets you guys comment on Facebook. I have no idea why. A couple people slipped through yesterday. I don't know how you slipped through, but nonetheless, it's playing some kind of game with me, and I do not know why. So who knows about that? TikTok's playing some kind of a game too. I can see it's like it's throttling the people it's letting know are coming today. Very interesting, because the TikTok number should be much higher right now. Usually it's like soars in the first minute or two. Well, we'll give it a minute and see what happens on TikTok. In any case, yeah, I tried. I cannot get it to, okay. I went into all the settings. I saw the settings that you guys had told me to go into on TikTok. And nonetheless, it didn't offer me any options. It claimed that everything was fine, but it gave me no options. So I don't know why. I have no settings set up that says you guys can't comment. See, but Gina Pressler Handley just commented from Facebook. So I don't know who isn't able to comment. It confuses me. Anyway, Gina, nice to see you. Oh, hey guys, John Arvos is here. I am in Chicago visiting Ma. So you will hear Mom occasionally, my nephew occasionally. The 2 dogs definitely will scream at some point. I have my own little animal farm here. No correlation to the book. Robin at Facebook. This is nice. We're suddenly getting Facebook people weighing in. I have not had Facebook people weighing in before. And Gina, nice to see you. We've, well, I'll start in like maybe 30 seconds, guys. As I said, we wait a little bit. Okay, TikTok's up to 2.2, 2,200. That's not a bad number. Usually that's about where TikTok should be. Maybe 3,000. It's going a little slow today. But I like to wait for 5 or 6 minutes just so we can give people a chance to come on. And then I'll jive right in. I probably won't jive right in. I don't think I'd be very good at that. And it'd probably get me into a lot of trouble. But I can dive right in. Anyway, yeah, glad to see the Facebook people. That's very funny. I literally, for 2 months, we haven't had Facebook people. And then yesterday, suddenly, just so folks know, I guess I'll start the introduction like this. As I said, I'm John Arvos. I'm in Chicago, normally in Washington, D.C., visiting Ma out here. So I'll be here for a few more weeks. I've got TikTok live there on my phone right in front of me. You will also notice me looking down here because that's where YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter are. We get a mix. Most of our people are TikTok. Second up is definitely YouTube and Facebook. I've never been able to get the numbers, but what do you know? We've got 2 people from Facebook weighing in, Robin and Gina. Gianna, I'm calling her. Thank you for that. I saw the hat on TikTok. Gianna. Gina would be the more obvious pronunciation of your name. Anyway, guys, all right, I'm going to start in. So the way we do this is I go for about, you know what? I'm going to go here. I go for about 20 minutes or so. Thank you for the dog. I go for about 20 minutes or so telling you the latest news. I obviously can't tell you everything. There's a lot of news today. Hello, Germany on TikTok. But I pick the stories I think matter. I explain a little bit about why I think they matter. And then we dive into the question and answer period that folks I think tend to like the most, especially the TikTokers. There's usually a good 100 questions. Can't get to all of them, but they're there. The way we'll do that is, and you can do it throughout the show, but I won't get to them until the question and answer period on TikTok. Look on the very bottom. You'll see a little button that says Q&A for question and answer. Click that button, submit your question there, and that way all your questions will be in a row, and it's easy for me to go through them. On YouTube, you guys know the story. Use the comment box on the bottom. As same story, I will try to get to them, but there's combined, you guys usually have like 150 comments. There's no way to get through all of them, or questions, I should say. But on YouTube, you can buy a super chat question. If you do that, you are supporting my work, which I appreciate. And as a thank you, I will always get to the super chat questions first. And I will, if I remember, I will get to it as the next thing I get to, actually. So even if I'm in the middle of my script here for the news of the day, I will get to your question as the next thing as a thank you. And on TikTok, all I can say is when you do the funny hats and everything, I will at least give you a shout out if I see you doing it, because I appreciate it. And like I said, I'm doing this full time, and I appreciate you guys supporting my work. So thank you. There you go with the hat. Thank you, Helen. All right, guys, let me dive right in. As always, please follow me. Please like these videos. Please subscribe, share them, but always very helpful for you guys to hit that like button. It helps a lot. All right, let's dive right in. So Russia's state, I figured I'd start with a fun story to start with. Russia's state news agency, RIA Novosti, very well known. I mean, this has been around for decades, this thing. RIA Novosti reports that signs of black magic have been found at Ukrainian military headquarters. And apparently they're reporting that, like, this must be the way that the Ukrainians are beating the Russians, because otherwise, right, how could they beat the Russians unless they're using black magic? But I just thought, I mean, this is literally the official Russian news agency, and they tweeted this story out. It's the funniest damn thing. Totally real. I kid you not. In real news, I mean, that was real, but you know what I mean? In real news, there were strikes across Ukraine today, again, with Russian rockets, Russian missiles. They've been targeting railway infrastructure again. Thank you for that on TikTok. It seems very clear that the Russians are now trying to hit the infrastructure that the Ukrainians would be using to send NATO weapons across Ukraine, right? Pretty much, NATO's not explaining how, but a lot of us think the weapons that we're all promising are going in via Poland, which is to the west of Ukraine, gets there in the west. City of Lviv is there, which you hear, this city got bombed. And then they're using trains. Thank you, Mara, for that. It's one of my favorites now. They use trains, maybe some other means, maybe trucks as well, to get these weapons to the front. But the front is in the east, several hundred miles away. So I shouldn't say several hundred miles, but it's got to look at a map. Is it a couple hundred miles? Where would it? How far would it be from? If anyone wants to check the map, Google Maps, from Lviv in the west to get to, say, what? Pick a city. I was going to say Harkev. Same difference. Harkev, you go a little bit south to these guys. What's the mileage there? Is it just 200 or something? In any case, it takes a while to do. The Russians have clearly been bombing the infrastructure because they're trying to bomb the railways. For example, they went after electricity, but they went after the electricity that is provided to the railways, right? Thank you, K. Marie, for that. So that they're trying to actually knock out the railroads. So anyway, they have not been very successful. The last thing I'll say about this, which was interesting, is I read yesterday that Ukraine has so many railways in the center of the country that the Russians are trying to knock things out, but it doesn't matter because then the Ukrainians just redirect them through a different track. But there's so many train tracks that it's extremely difficult for the Russians to effectively block these train tracks efficiently. So that's good news. The Harkev, actually, good news from Harkev. There's a lot of bad news, or not bad news, but a lot of negative news today. I'm just warning you up front. But Harkev, which is the second largest city of Ukraine, yeah, we'll give a little heart for Harkev, in the east, in the northeast of Ukraine, 1.5 million people. The Russians have been bombing the hell out of it now. I mean, for 2 months, but really for the last couple of weeks badly. They're leveling a lot of the city. I put up a video on TikTok today showing they blew up a kids' amusement park, but they must have used 6 or 8 bombs to do it. It was an empty amusement park for kids, merry-go-rounds and things like this, and they just blew it up. It was crazy. But Harkev, 10 days ago, this is from the Wall Street Journal. 10 days ago, there were 50 to 80 Russian shelling and rocket attacks on Harkev every day. So 50 to 80 attacks a day by rockets, basically. Now, thanks to a Ukrainian counteroffensive, the number has fallen to about 5 a day instead of 50 or 80. What I was reading the other day about this is basically the Russians never took Harkev, but they were moving. Harkev, mind you, is 10 miles away from Russia, right? So imagine the Russians move in. So the Russians moved into the countryside, but they'd never taken Harkev itself. Well, they would get around the city and then they would launch artillery attacks from outside the city. Well, the Ukrainians have done such a good job of pushing the Russians back that at least the other day I had read, pretty much there was only an area east of Harkev that the Russians were able to successfully do their attacks from. And therefore, we've got the number today, it's cut the number of artillery and rocket attacks from 50 to 80 to about 5 a day, which is huge. Imagine, 50 to 80 would be 12, 4 or 5 an hour instead of, 4 times 24. What would be 3 or 4 an hour versus now 3 or 4 a day, 5 a day. So much better. The Mariupol. Okay, Mariupol. Thank you, Pamela, for that. Now that I know it's a money shower, I appreciate it. Mariupol. So the Russians. Oh God. Okay, Mariupol's the city in southeastern Ukraine, key city because Russia. Remember, just to remind folks why it matters, Russia wants to annex eastern Ukraine and they want to annex Crimea. They did annex Crimea, the peninsula in the south, back in 2014, and they want to connect it with a land bridge so they can make all of this Russia, right? And basically be able to go to Crimea, their little prize in the south, by land. Well, the holdout has been Mariupol. They've got the entire city of Mariupol except the steel plant that's huge. Humongous Soviet-era steel plant. A couple thousand troops were there. 1,000 citizens were there. Slowly, the citizens have been evacuated. Finally, the Russians have been refusing to let them out. Today, I just read a story 10 minutes before coming on saying the Red Cross says 300 citizens from Mariupol and the surrounding area arrived in Zaporizhia today, which is a nearby city in Ukraine. I'm still not sure if that means it's an additional 300 today or if it includes the 150 or so that left yesterday. Not clear, but it sounds like the late breaking news is more citizens were released. Still not clear how many civilians are left in the plant. The soldiers are still there, about 1,000 Ukrainian soldiers. And what's interesting is a couple hours ago, at least, they reported, oh, hey, from Ukraine. Oh, somebody's checking in from Ukraine. Okay, guys, we always stop for the Ukrainians. Yarina Zhuravel is checking in on TikTok from Ukraine. Folks, give her some love. Give Yarina a little love here, guys. Oh, got it. Thank you. And thank you for reality check. 640 miles. That's good to know. But yes, give some some sunflower showers on TikTok for Yarina. whenever we see, and Yarina, you're getting it on my YouTube channel as well, because we're doing this on YouTube. So you're getting lots of cute little sunflowers. Whenever the Ukrainians come and we see you guys, we shower you with sunflowers. And just so you know, whenever the Russian trolls come and act up, we shower them with sunflowers too, but for an entirely different reason. Think of the old lady that was giving the seeds to the soldier. That's why we flower them with sunflowers. All right, guys. So Mariupol. Yeah, this is interesting. The Russians are now storming Mariupol. They've got the troops are literally storming like individually with their guns, trying to break into the plant. It is exactly what Vladimir Putin said they weren't going to do. Remember, a week ago, Putin declared victory with this plant and said, "Oh, we won. we're not gonna fight anymore. I don't want to risk my men." This has now been 5 or 7 days later. Putin's risking his men, and they're going in arm-to-arm combat, trying to take over the plant. The Russians, they're liars when it comes to this stuff. They just lie about everything, and it should be assumed. But they're so bad at this. It's like, they're bad at lying, but it seems like what it looks like is that a week ago, Putin was intending to just claim victory and not invade because arm-to-arm combat is you'll lose a lot of men. And suddenly they changed their mind. I think because May 9th is coming, they changed their mind and they're embarrassed. And they want Mariupol to be theirs. They want to be able to say they took the entire town by May 9th, which is the anniversary of the victory over the Nazis in World War II. The Russians like to pretend that they were the only ones involved in World War II, taking on the Nazis. So it's their big celebration. Oh yeah, so this was interesting too, just to add to this. Ukrainian intelligence says today that Russia plans to hold a military parade in Mariupol on May 9th. Thank you, Pamela, for that. Yeah, a double thank you. That Russia plans to hold a military parade in Mariupol, which is really sick. And they're cleaning up the town to make it look like nothing happened. Mind you, this was a town of 450,000 people. There's now 100,000 people left. They've starved them for 2 months. These people have been just having to get food wherever they can get it. No food, no water, no electricity, no heat for 2 months. Mind you, the beginning of this in end of February was winter, right? And now they're cleaning up the town. You know this town has got to be littered with bodies. And they're cleaning it up because, at least according to Ukrainian intelligence, they want to have some cute little Potemkin, ironic the phrase, Potemkin village thing. Actually, this is what the NZs, I try not to use the word, what the NZs did in World War II. Remember they had the one camp? Thank you for that, Christy. I love that galaxy. The NZs had that one camp. I forgot what it was, but it was the camp that was really nice. And they had everybody playing music and all this kind of nice stuff. So the Red Cross volunteers would come and see how nice they were to the Jews. Of all places, Mariupol. Hello from Sweden. Nice to see you on TikTok. Oh, my Borg. I do like my Borg thing. That's probably my favorite. That's my new favorite, I think, the Borg thing. Just kind of sick, considering how much they've obliterated Mariupol, considering the fact that they have literally spent 2 months attacking civilians. This is the town that they bombed the theater. Thank you, Cami, for that. They bombed the theater that had the words children written on it. We now know from the Associated Press today that the latest count is 600 women and children died in that attack. The Associated Press said they did an analysis. This is the town where they bombed the maternity hospital. Remember the hospital for women giving birth to their children? I mean, the things the Russians did in this town are and now they're pretending like, let's have a parade. Moving on, Russia today denied that they would declare war on Ukraine and institute a national mobilization on May 9th, which means they will. Hungary is still objecting to a phased out Russian oil embargo. The EU has been moving closer to a deal where the plan was to agree to phase out imports of Russian oil by over 4 months, maybe maybe by the end of the year. And Hungary is still objecting. Slovakia also has issues, but Hungary's been the big one objecting, saying that even a phase out is bad. And what it may come down to is whether the other European Union countries are willing to agree to have their own embargo, but let Hungary and maybe Slovakia exempt from the embargo or something like that. Now, I could imagine some of the other countries going, why are they exempt and we're not? But, not a good thing. I was going to give you a real quick fundraising update. I thought I'd throw it in the middle here. So, and this is good. I did a video on TikTok today on giving the updates, and I have videos from our friend Vlad in Ukraine and his friend Yevgeny, who's also been helping. In a nutshell, we are buying 2 used cars, filling them with food. Not me, but the Ukrainian volunteers, driving them cross-country to Harkev, the town I told you in the Northeast, the second largest city, 1.5 million. Thank you for that. And then giving the cars and the food to the food aid groups in Harkev that are going around town. First, they make the food, they deliver the food to shut-ins, to elderly, people who are disabled, people who are still in their homes, and they've also been running soup kitchens in the bomb shelters. Like there's a video I posted a while ago showing in a subway in Harkev, one of the big subway stations, people lining up for food, and they had literally a food counter set up with soup and with food and solid food. And these women were coming up with their Tupperwares, their plastic containers, and getting the food for their families. That is what you are supporting and what you have supported. Then after we deliver the food, we give them the cars, and then they're going to use the cars that we bought to also deliver food around town for the rest of the war. So we did it. We've got both cars. We've got one car already, and the video is on TikTok, that we filled halfway with food. The food was donated, which is fabulous. We didn't have to, or I shouldn't say donated, but bottom line is we didn't have to pay for it. So your money did not have to go for food. We got the food for free. The car is now being driven to a second town in Western Ukraine. It will then be completed, the filling of it with food, and then will be driven to Harkev. But it's already on its way to the second town. The second car is still being repaired. It's going to be a couple hundred. Basically, you get them, you buy them used, and then they need some repairs. It's still being repaired in a couple days, and then it will be filled with food, and it too will be driven to Harkev. And as I said, both cars then will be given to the food group, so they now have 2 more vehicles to deliver food, which is great. We've raised $9,230 to date, Vlad told me, for this effort. He has spent $9,500, and Vlad told me today that he thinks with another $1,200, $1,200, we should be able to finish buying food because we got free food already, but we're going to need to buy some ourselves. Thank you for the May thing, Constance. With $1,200 more dollars, he said we should be able to buy enough food and finish the repairs on the cars that then we're done, ready to go. So in any case, the one car is already on its way. It's half filled, but you can go check out on TikTok. As I said, the video's up. I just want to give you an update, but I told that I want the video because I want to start showing you guys the substance. So I realize a lot of you probably trust me, but nonetheless, I wanted to show you substantively. These are the cars. These are the food. And Yevgeny's really cute too. I shouldn't say that, but he's really sweet. When he got on, he did his part. Vlad was terrified. Actually, when you watch the video, you're going to laugh because Vlad was terrified. I hope Vlad's not watching. Vlad does not like cameras. And I keep telling Vlad, people love you. They keep asking how you're doing. Don't be afraid to go on camera and talk to folks. But Yevgeny clearly loves the camera. So, all right, guys. And Flint Reed, thank you for that. Let me go on. Anyway, I'm sorry. If you can help, on my TikTok, you can go to my profile and you'll see the link that says beacons. Click it. Top 2 things tell you how to donate. You guys also, they've been giving the link here. Actually, I'll throw it up really quick too on my, there we go, on my YouTube, Facebook, etc. That's Vlad's PayPal. I know it's a PayPal account, but it's the easiest way to do it because this isn't a charity. This isn't an NGO. This is some guys in Ukraine who have been doing an amazing job. We've already raised $40,000 that these guys have already distributed in individuals they've helped. We gave a lot of money directly to the food aid groups, to the food groups making food, but now they're in a situation where they actually need food and not just money, which is why we've been arranging ways to get them food. Okay, that's enough said there. Let me get back to the news. Okay, those are the first 2 pages. One second here, guys. Bulgaria. Oh, this is good news. Bulgaria is not going to be providing weapons to Ukraine. I guess they don't maybe have enough, but they promised today to repair Ukrainian military equipment that is damaged in the war, which is pretty cool and necessary. So that was good news. The next round of European Union sanctions will include the Patriarch of Moscow, the Russian Orthodox Patriarch Kirill is his name, like Cyril, but with a K, who's the head of the Russian Orthodox Church, who is a big Putin crony. And Pope Francis came out and criticized him this week in an interview. Oh, thank you for the duckling, Cami, or Cami? Cami, I called you. I think I said Cami. And Pamela, thanks for my Borgs. The Pope came out this week and told Kirill not to become, quote, Putin's altar boy, which was interesting. Now, mind you, the Pope also made some nasty comment yesterday about how NATO helped cause this war by antagonizing Russia, which was totally incorrect and totally inappropriate, but what do you do? But that was good. I forgot I had snuck a lot of good news in today. I remember I had put a patch of good news in the middle to cleanse the appetite, so this is good. The 90% of U.S. howitzers, which are the big artillery guns, promised to Ukraine are now in Ukrainian hands. That's really good news. Be aware that when General Hertling, who is like one of my faves, who's on CNN a lot, former head of the U.S. Army in Europe, he had said the other day that you've got to keep in mind, oh, Natalie, I see you. I will put a star on it and come to it next. He had said that you've got to realize, actually, I'll put it on the screen so I don't forget, that the artillery will arrive in Ukraine, but it's going to take several weeks to get it where it needs to be and then to put it in action, right? We've already trained over 200 now. The number might even be up to 240 trainers. So Ukrainian military folks who are trained how to use the artillery, and they are now spreading around Ukraine, training the soldiers around the country, right? Thank you for saying, John. I'm going to put my glasses back on so I can see your names on TikTok. Sorry about that. So, but it still takes several weeks. It takes several weeks to get the artillery out there, and then to make sure we have people trained and everything. So it's not like they're going to be using artillery tomorrow. And by the way, this is also probably why the Russians are freaking out and getting much more aggressive in terms of the bombing of the railways and things like that, because they know the big guns literally are finally coming. This is kind of nasty. The Russians took the Russians took a 3-year stock of grain from Luhansk Oblast in the east. They stole 3 years' supply of grain, 100,000 tons, and have moved it out of the region. What was I going to sow here? This area is the only region of Ukraine where the sowing season has not started yet. So they haven't started, putting the seeds in the ground. It puts the local people at the risk of famine. And actually, I've got, I'll come back. I'll jump back to grain in a minute. Let's look at Natalie's question. So Natalie Reyna says, what intelligence do you think the West got that they aren't as, I see. Yeah. What kind of intelligence do you think the West got that made them less scared of Russia and its nukes? Also, do you think Ukraine wants to negotiate now since Zelensky's threat of ending talks? Russia wants to negotiate now since Zelensky's threat of ending talks unless people were freed from Mariupol. On the first part, I'm not sure. It's possible we got intelligence. It's also possible that Biden's, that the CIA and everybody else simply came to a new conclusion and said Putin's bluffing. But as far as I'm concerned, something happened in the last 2 weeks where, we saw Biden getting more and more aggressive about intervening in terms of the kind of weapons the U.S. was giving, right? He was very cautious at the beginning, was afraid of, causing nuclear war, this kind of crap, as I say, and then somehow got to the point where now pretty much everything but fighter jets, it seems, we're almost giving the Ukrainians, well, not everything, but everything they want. We're pretty much giving them. The Ukrainians are very happy. To me, that means the U.S., but also we saw it with the Brits. The British defense minister has been way out there now. With Britain, it happened right after Russia threatened to nuke them. Interestingly, the Brits kind of went, okay, that's it. So I think all of Putin's never-ending threats certainly convinced U.S. intelligence that this he's acting like a pauper. He's acting like somebody who has no power. Again, I've given this example before, but they always talk about, the guy who's always threatening me. Do you know who I am? Do you know what I can do to you? I'm going to, usually it's the guy who doesn't have the power that has to tell you, do you know who I am? The really important people kind of sit there and they just look at you and you're screwed. So that's my guess. I don't know if they got intelligence. They could have, though. They could have actually gotten intelligence and heard somebody talking to somebody else and going, oh yeah, Vladimir said keep talking about nukes just to scare the West, even though we won't use it. That's all. Thank you for that. I did say that on TikTok, my favorite hat and mustache. So it's possible they got that. Now, second part of your question, do you think Russia wants to negotiate now since Zelensky's threat of ending talks unless people were freed from Mariupol? Russia's talking about talks again. The peace talks sort of ended once when Bucha was discovered. And remember all the human rights violations in Bucha, the guy with his hands tied behind his back and shot, all those things. And at the time, Russia said, oh, you have now endangered the peace talks by accusing us of this. And it was just like, who the hell do you think are accusing you of this? You were the only people in town for like a month. But it is intriguing that in the last couple of days, the Russians are talking about the peace talks again. And I'm not sure why. One sec here. This is just water today. I don't know if Russia is feeling the need to try to look like they're trying harder. For example, why are they letting the citizens out of Mariupol? They're not letting a lot, but they are letting some of the citizens out, several hundred, from the steel plant. That's interesting. Why now? They're not letting people out of the rest of Mariupol. So there's that. The ones they let out, a lot of them, they just kidnapped and brought them to Russia. But so I guess the first question is, are they talking about negotiations because they think there's some kind of a public relations advantage to looking like they want to negotiate? I don't think they want to negotiate yet. I think they're faking it. It is clear that Ukraine's doing better, right? Ukraine is in a much better position now than it was 6 weeks ago. So Russia would be more interested in negotiating because Russia looks like it's in trouble. And especially now, too, a lot of the experts are saying they're kind of stalled in the East, anemic, was the description of how their forces are doing. So if you're Russia, you might think, if we're really screwed in the next couple of weeks and we can't keep this up, we better cut a deal. I don't think Putin's interested in cutting a deal. So that makes me think that this talk of negotiations isn't real and it's some kind of a public relations thing. I don't know why it would be, but I think it's a public relations thing. All right, I've only got two more stories anyway here, and then questions for the rest. A Russian ship was loaded. Oh yeah, a Russian ship was loaded with 27,000 tons of grain in Crimea, right, the Ukrainian peninsula that Russia occupies, and the Russians tried to sell it to Egypt, who refused. Good for Egypt, and now it's heading towards Lebanon and Syria. This has been an ongoing story here with the Russians just stealing and stealing and stealing and looting this country, but they've been especially looting the grain, and they're threefold. One, they want to get money for it because they're hard up for cash. Two, they want to kill the Ukrainians. They want to kill the Ukrainian people. They want to cause famine. Three, they're trying to cause an international famine. A number of African countries in particular are very worried about the Ukrainian grain exports not happening this year, because Ukraine can't even get not only are the Russians stealing the grain and they're stealing the farm equipment and they're blowing up the farms, but they have a blockade, as you know, in the south on the sea, so that Ukraine's only seaports cannot get the grain out using the ships. So bad news. Finally, and this was a bit of good news, 7 Molotov cocktails were thrown at a recruiting station in Nizhnevartovsk, 2,000 miles east of Ukraine, and it's pretty good video. I mean, the video's a little rough, but you can see this guy. 7 Molotov cocktails are those Coke bottles filled with gasoline, a simple like white T-shirt as a wick. You light it on fire, you throw it, and when the bottle explodes, the gas explodes, and it causes a huge fire. 7 of these on the side of a building causes a big fire, and somebody was seriously ticked off at the Russian recruiting services. But it's interesting. It's one story, but it's still interesting. I mean, anecdotally, to see sort of the resistance going on. All right. That was it for my news summary. Didn't go too long. Harvey's already got a question. Perfect time, Harvey. You timed it well. Let me get my glasses on for this. Have you seen Dmitry Valeryevich? Well, you're using the full name. Dmitry Valeryevich Utkins, oligarch and Wagner. Oh, he's Putin's, what do they call him? I was going to say baker, or what are they, chef, or whatever they call the guy? I didn't know his name. Oligarch Wagner. If he's the Wagner founder, he's that guy. Crazy rant where he calls the West pathetic, endangered perverts and third world scum. I did not see that. How will Putin? I mean, Putin probably likes it, is my guess. The thing that really weirds me out with the Russians is so much of the things they say reminds me of Saddam Hussein. Saddam Hussein, remember, Iraqi dictator. We took him out. The first war justified. Second war was a lie. just to get that out of the room. But still, very bad man. So I have no sympathy for him in this whole regard. But Saddam Hussein used to say things. I wish I could find the old quotes. Things like, you Americans are children of running dogs. And as an American, you'd listen and go, okay, like, I don't know what that means. Your father was a sheep and your mother was a mule. And it was all of these kind of farm references, and dogs especially, that, we love dogs here, but dogs are used a lot. Trump actually uses dogs a lot like that when he says, worse than kicked him harder than a dog or something. They use dogs a lot as a pejorative, which we don't do. So it's a weird thing. And I feel that with the Russians, they keep calling us things and saying things that to them must be normal. But we hear it and we go, we're pathetic, endangered perverts and third world scum. It's like, okay, here's my iPad. How's your iPad doing there in Russia? Here's my iPhone. How's yours doing? I mean, or third world scum. It's just like, it's weird. But to me, it opens up sort of their mindset where they actually think this stuff works. I actually find it too. Like, I find it in the comments on TikTok. They say things and you're just kind of like, I was thinking this once. Some guy at a party was flirting with me and thought it would be really fun to flirt with me by insulting my intelligence. And women, I didn't know guys do this, kind of creepy. But this guy literally thought it was like flirting, and he was making jokes about me being dumb and stupid and vapid. And finally, I was kind of getting pissed off, and I finally said, because no one's ever done this before, and I said, I don't think I've ever in my life been insulted for my intelligence. And I said, and I've got to say, it's the least, anyway, it was a long story short, but I said it's sort of the thing I'm least self-conscious about, or that I least have a phobia about, is my intelligence. That one I'm not worried about. But it reminds me of the shit with the Ukraine, with the Russians, where they say stuff where we're kind of going, you're accusing us of being third world? Oh no. We're scum. We're perverts. Oh no. It's weird. And frankly, taking back to earlier, some of you may not have been on at the beginning of the show, that story that the Russian news agency put out today saying that they found black magic at the headquarters of the Ukrainian military. And, this is how they're winning, using black magic. And to them, this must sound normal. Or when they make all those threats about nuclear war and stuff, that stuff must sound normal to them. To the rest of us, we're going, what's wrong with you people? Honestly, to the rest of us, we're going, we read a quote like that Harvey just gave, and we go, projection. Projection is in psychology when you accuse somebody of something that you are and that you are, and you project it onto them. Anyway, it's a weird country. It's a very weird country, Anyway, let me jump onto the TikTok, to the TikTok. That's like, it reminds me of my dad used to call the internet. So I got on internet. And after a while, I was like, Dad's in his 80s. I'm going to stop trying to convince him it's the internet. And but he would call it the Google. He would call it the Google. And I was like, no, take it from there, give it here. It was very cute, though. Well, interesting question. THC says, how bad are the sanctions affecting Russia? The initial sanctions, not even the initial sanctions, the sanctions initially affected Russia's banking system very badly. We even know that actually we are within a day or two, we're pretty darn close of Russia defaulting on its debt. And that was because of our sanctions. So actually, we're literally within a couple of days of Russia defaulting on its debt. Very interesting. I forgot about that because the story, it came up at the beginning of April and we were waiting 30 days. So that's going to be interesting. We know that actually the head of the central bank of Russia said that she said the sanctions first hit the financial industry, and now they're going to start hitting production of everything in Russia. She said pretty much everything in Russia that is produced includes foreign parts that are imported to Russia. So they're going to have to find new suppliers. They're going to have to make these parts themselves, but things are going to be in trouble soon. We know with aviation, for example, by now they must be having serious problems with their domestic airlines for commercial travel. Keeping them up to date because they lost all the foreign repairs. And these airlines, they break down just like fighter jets. I mean, they break down a lot. You've got to think of the number of planes you've been on where it's needed maintenance and all of this. So it's hard to say. It's not been enough yet to, I'll take the Vlad thing off. It's not been enough yet to make Putin, crumble, but we never thought it would be. The idea now is that hopefully these are starting to really cripple his war effort. Actually, one more anecdote I'll tell you. Even at the beginning of the war, the drones that Russia prefers to use, Russia can't make any more of them because the camera in the drone is a Sony camera, and they can't get them because of the sanctions. So even something as basic as the drones their surveillance drones they like to use, they can't make anymore. So there's a lot of things like that where it's going to start kicking in. So, we never thought that. Now, and the final thing will be Europe is talking about these sanctions against oil and gas. That's going to be the big one. That's going to be the big one because so much of, I think I said the other day that Europe buys half of Russia's oil. Half of the oil that's exported goes to Europe. So huge if Europe can figure out how to turn off that spigot in terms of the amount of money Russia getting. So they're hurting. It's just nobody thought they were going to make a big difference initially, and it's kicking in over time. That's probably because Russia has reserves, like they have reserve supplies of the parts, all sorts of things like that. Let me see. Same question, but with country names then. What was the question? Did I miss something? Karen, here's the only thing though, Karen. Wait a minute. But did they finally? Because they paid with rubles. Did they finally pay the other amount? Karen Jones says Russia did not default on its debt. It paid from its own internal reserves, depleting its treasury. Did they finally, though? I didn't see the final story on that. I just saw several weeks ago that they were officially, on the verge of default, and they had the 30-day countdown because they had tried to pay it in rubles, and the debt can't be paid in rubles. So interesting. Now, if that is, I'm not trying to question you, Karen, but if that's correct, it's very interesting because that was the other reason we were sanctioning and freezing Russia's money, because we wanted them to go into their own currency reserves and have to pay the debt, because instead of using that money for the war, or big pot of money, instead of using that, they did pay it. Okay. They paid in dollars. Wow. Interesting. Oh, today's news. There you go. I was just going to say, I missed story today. We're at the point. Okay, very interesting. Okay, that's brilliant then, because we wanted to force Russia to go into its dollar reserves and have to use it to pay for its debt, the service on its debt, and they did, because the idea there was to basically force that pool of money Russia's got. I always love that sea thing. Thank you. God, that really is gorgeous. To force Russia to take its piggy bank that it wants to spend on the war, and now the piggy bank is smaller because they had to pay for the debt. And next month, the piggy bank will be smaller because they got to pay for the debt. So this is also where the sanctions kick in. Over time, it's almost like, I've got extra weight on me. If you starve me, I can go a ways until my stomach goes away. But after a while, then I'm really starving or an animal hibernating in the winter, their fat goes away. It's sort of the same kind of thing. Russia has some currency fat that it can rely on. And when all that fat goes away, when they lose their reserves, then they're in real trouble. Thank you for that, Karen. I did not realize that. That's great. Becca, hello, Becca Engelman. Aren't you? That's fine. I see Dollar. For some reason, I thought there was some Swedish person here that I thought had a similar name to you. I thought, maybe not. What are your thoughts on the Russian media? You people love those. Harvey got you all going with those flags, didn't he? What are your thoughts on the Russian media talking about concentration camps? Oh, I put the video up, sterilization, etc., while simultaneously claiming everyone else is Yahtzees. What's a Yahtzee? I mean, I know the game Yahtzee. I never knew what the word actually meant. So this is funny. I put the video up on TikTok. There's no point in showing it to you because it's subtitled. It's in Russian. But on Russia One, which is their big national TV station, and it's their big nightly talk show, and they get these, very serious top pundits in the country that get together. And this guy, I forget who he was, but he's some head of something. And he's going off about how anybody who doesn't accept the Z, the Z symbol for the war, and I don't know if he meant the Z itself or if he meant the war, like the symbol, the Z, needs to be put, I'm warning you now, you will be put in, they need to be put in concentration camps and sterilized. He had something else in the list too. And you're watching this and you're just going, this actually ties into what I said. This was one of the things that I watched today that made me think of what I said earlier, where I said, do you not understand how crazy it is the way you people speak? Oh, the Yahtzees. The Yahtzee. Oh, that's good. The Yahtzees. I like that. The Yahtzees are the NZs. The Yahtzees. I have to use that one. I mean, do they not realize how crazy they sound? Like, that stuff would not fly. That stuff, even like on something like Fox News, that could be a little edgier sometimes. I don't think calling for mass sterilization and concentration camps internally, I think even on Fox News, they'd get some pushback like, wait a minute, what are you talking about? I mean, that is just, and of course, they're going to de-Yahtsify Ukraine by having Yahtzee concentration camps. It's like, okay. No, not at all. Not at all like the Yahtzees. Oh, that's very funny. Oh, I didn't realize the letters mattered. Okay, 2 letters. That's very funny. Did not even know the letters mattered. Anyway, that's just freaking bizarre. Let me find another Q&A on TikTok today. We had a lovely day today. I got to take the dogs out for half an hour, but then we were going to walk with my sister and her puppy, and that sort of happened too late because I didn't hear from her till 3:30, and then I was getting ready for you guys, but her adorable little 2-pound puppy, we were going to go for a walk today to give her dog a chance to get to know my dog a little better. Beep. Not really, Willow and Finch. Just keeping updated on this get heavy for you. I don't think so. It's funny with the war itself. It's hard to explain to people. It's also hard to explain in a way like publicly that doesn't sound offensive. But when you do politics for a living, this kind of stuff revs you up. I also like weather. I've always been into weather. I could have been a weatherman. I'd be so happy being a weatherman. And for weather people, you should see, like, there's this one really cute weather guy I follow on TikTok. I forget his name. He's in DC. He's at Fox 5 now. And he's Matthew Capucci. He's wonderful, wonderful. So into this stuff. And when there's bad weather, Matthew is literally giddy when the weather's bad. And I feel the same way. I love storms, lightning, thunder. Now, my dog hates it, so nowadays I don't like it. But lightning and thunder, tornadoes. I don't like tornadoes, but all that stuff is exciting. Hurricanes are exciting. And I don't want to say war is exciting because that would be saying it too far. But there's something that I guess I feel like my engines turn on. My fighting engines turn on or something, and I go into work mode when this kind of stuff happens. So no, although, I haven't been sleeping as well. I can tell things like that. So clearly it's affecting me in that way. Kind of the same way COVID did, really, where it's just, COVID, the situation. I didn't have COVID. But fortunately, it's not getting to me here. Maybe also I'm older. So like I've seen a lot of wars and things, not firsthand, but it's not like it's the first time I've had to pay heavy attention to a horrible issue. I think if I were in Ukraine, seeing this stuff, different, God only knows what it would be like. I think in Ukraine, it would freak me out. Hearing the bombing all day long would freak me out. That would give me PTSD. That absolutely would. But no, fortunately not. Arnas, what am I missing here? Okay, hold on. Arnas Polinskas, I missed something. What did I miss here? Oh, okay. Well, actually, Empty History is just repeating it, so thank you. She thinks they're just posturing, aware they will get rocked if they enter the war. You mean the Belarusians? Was it that whole thing we were talking about? Oh, was Arnas Polinskas? You've got to be Lithuanian. That's what I'm guessing. You must be the Lithuanian I was talking to. Am I right? I'm thinking I'm right. Let me know, folks. Because, Polinskas too, because usually when Greeks meet Lithuanians, we're always asking, we're like, are you Greek? Like usually with the IS too, we're like, are you Greek? And they're always Lithuanian. I'm like, oh, okay. But anyway, yes, the Belarusians, I'm going to assume, are posturing and that they'd get destroyed at the end of the war. Well, not to mention, if Belarus comes after you, like, hello, you're a member of NATO. You're going to destroy them. This is, and again, this gets back to the, and I see you were asking something about Lukashenko and moving his forces. Maybe that's it, though. I guess I don't know if you had a question, but that's, I don't mind you asking, though. Did she ask again? Sorry. Oh, here we go. I see it now. What do you think Lukashenko is thinking moving Belarusian forces to borders of Ukraine and Lithuania? Yeah, I saw that. And I was like, okay. There was always a threat that Belarus, and people were saying I need like a magic map. When I get back to DC, I'm going to figure out what I can do about having a map. So my apartment will look even weirder with a big light and a map of Ukraine in it for all the neighbors to see and wonder, what is this guy? Belarus makes sense in the sense that we were always worried that Belarus was going to enter the war, right? They partnered with Russia on this. They let Russian troops come through Belarus and come down, through there. They might even be launching artillery or missiles or something from there, we think. So Belarus, their troops entering the war, we were worried about. Early on, we were worried that they might come down to like Lviv, like go into either Western Ukraine, or they might go down to Harkev. The problem now for the Belarusian troops is they're on their own. Like if they were to invade, it would be them versus the Ukrainians. And I suspect God help the Ukrainians at this point. God help the Belarusians at this point. Now, what they could do is if Putin convinced, the problem is they'd be cannon fodder, as we call them here. I think the Russians call them cannon meat, maybe, but we say cannon fodder, meaning they're just soldiers you put out there saying, I know you're going to die, but thanks for helping. And you just put it out there. I think that, just getting the question off the screen here on TikTok. Putin probably wouldn't mind them entering, coming into Ukraine and fighting, because it would force Ukraine to put some troops over there, and it would take troops away from elsewhere that they're fighting the Russians. But it's crazy. And Lithuania, forget it. Lithuania is fine. Lithuania literally could move all their troops away and say, I dare you. because Belarus will be at war with all of NATO at that point, and Belarus will cease to exist as a country. So, not even, I shouldn't say, but we like the Belarusians themselves. Lukashenko, the dictator, will cease to exist as a dictator. So I'm not even worried about Lithuania. Ukraine, if anything, they're doing it because they just want to force they would be doing it to force the Ukrainian troops to move over. That would be the only thing. But, ridiculous. Now, what would be interesting is if Belarus entered the war, they're not Russia. So what's the whole deal? Like, what's the propriety of NATO or somebody attacking Belarusian troops that move in? It gets interesting. They're not Russians. Let Belarus say they're at war with us. Okay, good. I'm not worried about Belarus, right? The Kerry Brass guy, if Belarus attacks NATO country, is NATO's response limited to Belarus, or does that bring Russia in scope? That's really interesting. Well, there's a couple things going on here. That's really interesting. Sharon, thank you for that. Your larger question is, if a number of countries, let's pretend Belarus, okay, I'm thinking like law school professor here. When my friend Marion looks at this, she's going to know the same thought process. You start to kind of break it down and go, okay, does it matter if Belarus is I'm going to say a partner to the war, but that's not it. The question is, if Belarus attacks, and we're at war with Belarus, does that mean we're at war with Russia too? And it kind of depends, right? Like, I wonder, for example, that's interesting. I don't know. And I don't know like what the legal arrangement would have to be. Like in World War II, if like, for example, World War II, when Hitler was in league with Mussolini, you declared war on both, but did anybody declare war on one and not the other? Probably not, I'm guessing. But I don't know. That's very interesting. I would recommend you declare war on one and not the other. Like you say, oh no, Belarus invaded, we're going after Belarus. Russia, you're fine. We're not touching you. But that is the risk. Yeah, that would be the risk, would be that if in fact we decided to go in and hit Belarus because they moved into Ukraine, we would run the risk we'd run the risk, frankly, of Russians being with them. Who knows? They've got Russian advisors or something that we kill a Russian. But also, yeah, that it just brings Russia in. But it's an interesting question legally with NATO and everything else. Is if Belarus says that they're a partner in the war with Russia, does them attacking us mean we're at war with them? I will say this. In the end, it comes down to NATO's decision. It comes down to NATO would have to get together. It's not like there's a legal doc. There is, but it's not like legally war suddenly happens. NATO gets together and discusses it, and NATO would have the very discussion you and I are having where they'd say, well, let's declare war on Belarus first because they attacked, and maybe Russia can say, oops, we didn't mean for our little puppet to do that. But that's my guess. Thank you, Sergeant Kabuto. I've got my glasses on, so I'm not calling you Kabila or whatever I called you previously. Let me pull up my questions here on TikTok. I did not hear that Russia only has 10 days of ammo. That would be funny. Russia has a lot of ammo, though, from what I've heard, so I don't know. Russia getting ready on Finland's border? I don't think so. I would suspect that if anything's happening with Russia on Finland's border, they're trying to freak out Finland the same way they've been trying to freak out Sweden. And no, I've not been able to figure out the fix on Facebook. I tried. There was nothing indicating a problem, so I can't figure out what the problem is. No idea. Sorry about that. But they're doing the same thing to Finland they did Sweden. They're just trying to freak you guys out. And I would ignore them and happily join NATO and be done with it. But they're just trying to freak you out. Bottom line is, Russia can't afford it. Forget the NATO thing. Russia can't afford a war with Finland or Sweden right now. It's not clear that Russia's going to win the war against Ukraine. You think they need to go after two countries of the caliber of Sweden and Finland? I mean, again, Russia's generals wouldn't want it. Putin might be like, sure, let's have a war with everybody. But there's no way they could afford to go to war with them. They would just be destroyed. So if I were Finland, sure, you don't want an accident calling a war, but I'd kind of be like, honestly, if we were Finland, I'd be like, you know what? Great. We're just going to declare we're joining NATO today. Go away. Kerry Brass guy, I guess, is Belarus under Russia's protection like Poland is under ours? That's the question. Now, I don't actually know if there's any kind of a treaty or something about, that's an interesting question. Whether I just don't know. I mean, I don't know. That's actually interesting. That is actually interesting. I was going to say, way back early on, Russia was trying to constitute. Remember, it's been trying to constitute this coalition of the pathetic, basically. But I mean, the really small, insignificant, I don't mean to be rude, but insignificant post-Soviet countries that are still staying kind of communist and nasty. And Russia was trying to have a little coalition of them. So it's always possible that they've got some kind of a treaty with Belarus protecting them. I don't know. But again, the people seem to be pretty cool, and the dictator is highly unpopular, and Putin's kept him in power. So, but I don't know. Harvey. Oh, okay. I had a yawn today. Sorry, guys. Hey, it took me an hour before I had a yawn, so you got to give me credit for that. Thoughts on Zelensky stating that they are seeking full restoration. Yes, that was fabulous. Full restoration of territory, including Crimea, when speaking at the Wall Street Journal CEO Council Summit. Yep. I may have even mentioned this last night. So Zelensky is interviewed by the Wall Street Journal or something dealing with the Wall Street Journal and says, actually, he said two things. He said, I want all of our territory back, including Crimea, as part of the, as part of a peace settlement. And he said he wants reparations, which I thought was fascinating. Reparations meaning Russia has, the latest figure I saw was they've cost the Ukrainian economy $500 billion with a T, so $500 billion. And they want money for it. And they want Russia to pay them money every year for the next 20 years or however long it takes to pay them back for the fact that they've destroyed the economy unjustly. That was very interesting to me. And my takeaway is that's Zelensky speaking from a position of strength because they're doing so well and the outlook looks good. We need to see what happens in the next few weeks, but what we are hearing about the East is similar to what we were hearing about north of Kyiv, right? I mean, I remember I learned the word, in military terms, culminating, because General Hertling used it. And he said he was predicting like in 5 to 7 days, Russia would culminate. And I think I even asked him on Twitter, I was like, well, I don't know what that means. And he said, oh, it's a military word meaning that when you switch from offensive to defensive. So in other words, you're pushing, and you're kind of totally spent. Like you've kind of done as much as you can, and now the other guy's stronger and he's pushing you back and you start to defend and move backwards. He had predicted that was going to happen in the north, and it did, and eventually the Russians got beaten in the north. And he and a lot of other people, they didn't use the word culminating, but they did say when I asked them the other day on Twitter, all of them kind of got together and said they do not think Russia is going to successfully take the East. Certainly not the east of the river, but the East in general, they think is going to be very hard for Russia because they don't have the troops. They don't have the supply lines. And Ukraine is very good to start with. They've got the morale on their side. And now they're getting a lot of really good weapons, including, wouldn't it be amazing? Somebody was emailing me, an Israeli, and filling me in on some of the Israeli weapon systems, some of the defense systems like Iron Dome, but some of the other weapon systems. And oh my God, if Ukraine were able to get some of those, now that Putin has sort of stepped in it with all the anti-Semitic comments, my God. But overall, what you are seeing is a resurgent Ukraine that is not afraid anymore. They weren't afraid anyway, but they know they've got the upper hand as of right now. And good for them, right? Because remember earlier in the negotiations, Ukraine, right before Bucha, right before we knew about Bucha, Ukraine was talking about how we're willing to give 15 years for the discussion on the Crimea issue. And I was like, 15, you're going to give up Crimea for 15 years? Now they're like, nope, we get Crimea. They've been emboldened and Russia's been shrunk, which is great. Russia declared war on Germany and not Japan in World War II. Okay, and see, and my question there is, what were the treaties between Japan and Germany? Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. Okay, fair enough then. That's interesting. Yeah. And then, so I guess two things happen. One is you declaring on one of the parties, but not the other. And the other question becomes, does the other party declare war on you? So like if we attack Belarus because Belarus invades Ukraine and we choose not to declare war or attack Russia, is Russia obligated to declare war on us because we attacked Belarus? And the same thing with this, was Japan obligated to declare war on Russia? Not even Russia, excuse me, Soviet Union. Let's not give Russia credit because it was the Soviet Union. There were 14 other countries that helped as well. And we always give credit to Russia because Russia's tried to steal Russia also likes to pretend none of the rest of us were there. It was all Russia. Sure. It wasn't Russia the first 2 years when Russia had a friendship treaty with the Soviet, with the Nazis. So Russia could just sit back and watch everybody else die in World War II. But who's counting? Anyway, yeah, but that's interesting. That is interesting, Ty. Thank you for that. Oh. All right, let me jump to another TikTok. And as always, sorry, Lori. Okay, I'll jump to Lori's quick. Will Putin get one of his doubles to attend May 9th? Does he have a double? I mean, I'm sure he does, but I haven't seen it. I don't know whether I wonder how dangerous he thinks it is. I mean, Putin is paranoid. There is that. He's got to show up. He's got to show up. Because also he's got to give a speech. And I'm assuming, is the speech happening from there? Or does the speech happen earlier? If he's really paranoid, the speech may happen earlier or later, pre-recorded on a green screen, of course. And he'll go to the parade and do kind of his Queen Elizabeth wave. But that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, apparently he's super duper paranoid about basically other people coming after him, and whether it's his own people coming after him, which is one of the reasons they think that table, that little 40-foot table he's got, the 15-meter table, it may not be because of COVID. It could be because he's just afraid of people trying to kill him. Also, he's got some weird power dynamic that he thinks, again, the Russian mindset versus the rest of us, he thinks somehow it makes him look cool, making people sit 40 feet away from him. It's really creepy. Let me see what Arnas was saying. Interesting. Okay. Most of the USSR countries did not want to fight for the Soviets. Very interesting. Very interesting. Okay. Thank you. All right. Now let me jump to the TikTok questions again. Hey, hang on, TikTokers. I'm a-coming. Here we go. Don't know. We keep hearing about the white phosphorus stuff. I've still not heard anybody kind of confirm it. So I don't know. Also, from what I was reading, it depends how it's used, whether it's really a chemical weapon or not. I guess, and I'm not a big expert on white phosphorus, but isn't it used partially? You can use it to light up the air, or you can literally use it to drop on people, and then it's to burn them in a chemical weapon. But I've not seen people jump on it as an obvious chemical weapon use, which is interesting. We've not really seen that happening. What would happen if Belarus shoots off a nuke? Well, okay, if Belarus were to shoot off a nuke, well, mind you, we're talking like a tactical nuke, I'm assuming, like a smaller nuclear weapon. I kind of wonder, and we just get my questions cleaned up here. I think they'd be in trouble because it's one thing for Russia to do it, but it's another thing for a little, trying to find a nice word that won't get me banned, for a little, I'm yawning again, sorry, for a little country like Belarus to do it. I suspect with Belarus, we would go in military and we'd bomb the hell out of whatever military facilities he's got. We would. I think we would. And that would be one where you'd tell Russia, you'd say, fine, if you'd like to prove to us that you weren't involved, that's fine. That's fine. But otherwise, pull this up so folks can see it. But otherwise, that little SOB next to you just used a nuclear weapon, and we're going to destroy his military bases from the air so it doesn't happen again. Because that is a threat to NATO, because you're right off the borders with you border Poland, and that explosion could impact Poland. So I think it would be hell to pay if that happened. Christy, thank you for that. I think it would be hell to pay if that happened. Tree Robitaille says that CNN did confirm that phosphorus, but it was a month ago, and they didn't make a big deal of it. See, that's what I mean. There's something going on with the white phosphorus where they're not treating it as a chemical weapons attack for some reason, even in the media. Yep. And Porita says, thank you for the origami, Iggy. I love the origamis. I do not curl my hair. My hair curls itself. I'm Greek. We have funny hair. That's why I keep pushing it back. It's just it does things. But thank you for it. I think I used to tell you guys, I think I told you guys, I had an aunt who, my grandmother's sister-in-law, who would always spoke Greek. She didn't really speak English. And every time she'd see me, we're talking for 30 years, every time this woman see me, she goes, Yanni, my name's John. Eki sperma. Do you have a perm? And it was like, no, Thea, I don't have a perm. Yes, you do. Every time. And I'm like, she's Greek too. I'm like, I'm Greek. We have big hair. It does stuff. We're very lucky with our hair. Knock on wood. But anyway, the Porta says white phosphorus can be used for lighting the way, and I'm pretty sure against military targets, but illegal against civilians. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, I don't know, but clearly something's going on with it where they're not treating it as a chemical weapons attack, as a crossing the line chemical weapons attack, right? What else we got here? I will jump back into TikTok. I'm going to scroll down a little bit to get the more recent questions here. Oh, I didn't watch the Navalny documentary on CNN. Was it any good? Just curious how folks thought. I will tell you this, my only concern was I've gotten a little annoyed with CNN's, I like CNN a lot actually, but I've gotten annoyed with they do a lot of these documentaries lately, and they're these weird things where they get like 6 or 8 irrelevant people. And I'm sorry, like Van Jones, I just don't find him relevant, and opining on political topics. And I'm kind of going, okay, you're not somebody I want to listen to, nor are you. And they literally will like say something, and then expert says something, and then expert says something. And it's the way MTV used to do, or VH1 used to do those videos. They did their, comedy. And then I don't know. So I was a little worried the documentary was going to be weird, like dumbed down for stupid people. If it was good, I'll check it out, because I was very curious. But as I said, Nova did this too. Nova's dumbed itself down. Oh my God. I love Nova. I've loved Nova for my entire life. And all of a sudden, the most recent broadcast, it's like they're trying to pop a video practically where they have like the comedian says something for 3 seconds. And then the other comedian sitting in another chair, all dressed to go to a ball, but sitting in a studio, makes another quick 6-second comment. And Nova's doing that now. And I was like, Nova? They dumbed it. They're making it look cooler for the kids. Like it's more tech stuff happening on the screen, like CGI crap. And they dumbed it down, and they've got people like the scientists, and of course, oh God, it was driving me nuts. The scientists all now say 3 and 4 word comments, and they click them in. Nova. Anyway, I'm sorry, but I'm like a big science guy. The idea that you've got to dumb down Nova. This is a big American TV show that's about science, and it's wonderfully public broadcasting, wonderfully done since I was a kid for decades, and they're literally dumbing it down for the masses. It's science, and having to make it sexy with CGI, it's science. I don't need you to make it sexy. It is sexy. It's science. Okay, sorry. See what you did? You asked about Navalny, and you got me onto this other topic. Sorry about that. I will grab another. Okay, just for you YouTubers to know, I'm going back to TikTok. All right. Okay. Oh, no. I would not. Arnas is saying we're hearing about the Belarusians rolling their tanks and everything, towards Lithuania. Is it he or she? Arnas. I don't know. I'm going to guess a male name. I'm not sure though. Arnas. You're NATO. You're NATO. It's just, I just think the problem is all of these guys would have to be crazy to invade. And I think we keep thinking Putin's crazy, but Putin's not crazy. You know what I mean? And he wants to scare us all, but he's not crazy. And that's the only thing would be crazy, because they would freak. Oh, okay, there you go. I was thinking it was a male name. Yeah, you Lithuanians with your funny names. No, because you'd see like an AS and you'd think female. For some reason, Arnas to me sounded male. There you go. But yeah, they like to just freak people out. Oh, it's Arnold. Interesting. Arnas. Oh, that's interesting. It's nice. In any case, yeah, the Russians are trying to freak us out. They're doing a good job of it, but in the end, Putin can't touch a NATO country, and he knows it. So, I mean, they may try something stupid, but I know the experts are worried. I will say this, and Harvey will get to yours in a second. The experts I talked to actually are still worried about Putin trying something crazy, like going through Belarus and going through the Suweki Gap or whatever it's called. Is it Suweki? I'm getting the name wrong now, but this tract of land not even connecting, but between Belarus and Kaliningrad, which is this Russian territory on the sea there, where you've got Sweden and Gotland and all of those guys, and Poland, and that the Russians might try to invade and take this thin strip of land from Lithuania and from Poland. And I'm still looking at Suwalki, there you go, corridor. And I'm kind of looking at it, and I keep going, we're all going to war if that happens. And initially, I will say this, the concern was right before the war, I talked to a former NATO defense minister, and he was telling me, there was legitimate concern that we may not be able to win a war like that, because a lot of our tanks and everything else we got rid of them. As far as like Europe, we got rid of a lot of the tanks in Germany that we had after the Cold War, because we no longer were planning for a land war in Europe. Previously, we were planning for Russia to invade from the West, from Eastern Europe, go across Germany. And that's the Fulda. I was thinking Fulda Gap, might probably why I used the name Gap. This area in Germany they were going to go through, and he was saying he was worried that we may not be able to, that the Russians would rush in and we might have a hard time kicking them out. I'd be curious if he thinks that today. after what we've seen with the Ukrainians and how poorly, and the Russians, how poorly the Russians have done. Nonetheless, I just think like you're losing in Ukraine. You're out of your mind if you want to bring all of NATO in too. I mean, there's just, it just, yeah, no. Not a question, but apparently a kid from the English GOT, I was going to say government, I don't know what that means, sent a handwritten letter from the English GOT. I don't know what that is. Sent a handwritten letter from Zelensky. Oh, I'm sorry. A kid from England. You said the England. A kid from England got a handwritten letter from Zelensky after sending him a postcard. Oh, cute. Oh my God, that's cute. Oh, that's so cute. That's cute. I love that. That is really cute. Can you imagine getting a handwritten letter from like, a postcard. I should send Zelensky a letter. We love you. We love you on my live. Syndicate asks, any more info about the draft? Oh, thank you. Sorry for checking out the drum set from Ashley. Thank you, Ashley. Any more information about the draft document leak where Russia says it wants to create a new state, Southern Rus in occupied Ukraine? You know what's funny? I didn't see the name Southern Rus. Now, what's the question? Is this, I actually don't know about this. Was this we know they wanted to, thank you, Ashley. We know that they wanted to annex Eastern Ukraine. I mean, we knew this anyway, but it came out like officially in the last couple of days. Is it from that? Is that, I guess that's what you're talking about. I didn't know that they had a name for it or that it was going to be called Southern Rus or anything else, but nothing more. But I think, we already knew that Russia wanted to wanted to annex Eastern Ukraine. So I guess I'm not feeling like it's anything new or threatening. I'm like, they always wanted to do that, And yes, thousands of American women too. I know. We all love Zelensky. Novorossiya was one of them. Exactly. Like New Russia. Exactly. All right. Let me pull another question here. Oops. My dog is sleeping, making cute little noises underneath my desk. I thought something was wrong and I looked and she was asleep. I did not see Russia parading 500 prisoners of war, but I believe you. Ukraine bombing the May 9th parade. People have brought that up. I mean, it certainly would be pretty amazing if they did. I don't know that I think that's going to happen. I don't know that I think that's going to happen, but it'd be pretty funny. I'll bet you it was Jack, or it is Jack. Yeah, things change, Jack, don't they? Thank you, Flower Lady. That's very pretty. Thank you. Yes, Gilmer, I was talking earlier that, Kirill, who's the patriarch or whatever of the Russian Orthodox Church, is supposed to be, I don't know whether it came out yet, but he was supposed to be on the new sanctions list coming up with the European Union. And this is the Russian church leader who is literally in Putin's pocket, to use a nicer vernacular than one I wanted to use. Just horrific. But that's great that they're going after him. Yeah. Interesting too, like going after a church leader, but that was really good. All right, let me grab another one here. All right, it's 1:15, guys. I'm gonna do a couple more and then we're gonna call it quits. And then we hang out for like 10 minutes and chat. But we don't chat about Ukraine. We just sort of hang out and friendly chat. The Carrie Brass guy. I'm going to get rid of my Kirill question here on TikTok. Boom. There we are. What would it take for you to get on a plane to Poland and for you to do the show from Lviv or other relative safe areas? God, I would love to. I'd love to. I mean, part of it is I wouldn't know anybody there. I don't know. The thing, I mean, I do kind of worry about dying a little bit. It's funny. I worry about my dog although I guess my friend Damien would consider taking care of my dog. But Kherson is Greek? Get out. That's interesting. I know like the region around there has a lot of Greeks because they were talking about evacuating, or Mariupol too, right? There's a lot of Greeks, but I no idea on that. I don't know. I mean, a part of me would love to, but I don't know anybody in Lviv. Although I guess I could see if friends had people that know. We'd have to make sure there's a good internet connection. it'd be interesting. I don't know that I would learn much in Lviv. Thank you, Marciorsi. I don't know if, thank you, John. I don't know if I'd have any place I could stay and get a good connection. I know what I was going to say. I also don't know that I'd be able to get any more interesting news. I mean, being there is kind of cool, right? Crimea, Greek, Crimea, interesting. I do speak, yeah. I understand Greek decently. I speak it okay, but it's very, very rusty. So it's rusty, but I get by. Interesting. I don't know. I'd be very interested in doing it. Yes. But I guess part of it I have to figure out, is it safe? Is there any benefit in doing it? Or am I just another guy in Lviv who's going, okay, this is a different town, but nobody knows anything. And I'm still getting my news from the New York Times, the Kyiv Independent, you know what I mean? Like all the same sources that I'm getting them from now. So I don't know. I think it'd be fascinating, but I guess what I would want to do too is, if I were to go, would be to find some way of doing more of the humanitarian work or something by going. Like if there was some way the stuff we're doing could be more helpful, I don't know. Be interesting. Yeah. I don't know. We'll think about it, but I also wouldn't want to get killed. There is that aspect. And Lviv is relatively safe. They're still bombing, but Lviv, they're still going after things like, I did not get my new iPad yet. No, I kind of hold off on expenditures for a while, new ones. I mean, this one's working. It's just slow. So I'm trying to convince myself I don't need to spend $300 on an iPad, but oops, dropped my mic there. Anyway, I'm intrigued by that, Carrie, I'll call you. I'm intrigued by that. Yeah. I mean, I would love to. It'd be fascinating. And I've got a little bit of Russian under my belt, which I would be able to use as well. Although now that we have Google, the Google apps, I mean, the Google translation device is amazing. It's absolutely amazing. Okay, Sevastopol is Old Greek. City Khersonis. Interesting. Did not know that. All right, guys, let me pull up. Hey, Jody's from Australia. Let me pull up one more question as we're at 18 after here. All right, I will pull up one more here from Tiki-Toki. I don't know when Russia, well, I'll pull up a couple little ones. I don't know about Russia running out of weapons. I mean, they had big stockpiles of like ammunition and artillery. We know that. They got a lot of artillery. Lukashenko or the rebellion thing is interesting because he's the dictator in Belarus. Putin already had to come in once and help keep him in power a couple of years ago, so he owes Putin. But it also means his position isn't that strong, which also is part of the reason people think he may not be invading Belarus, invading Ukraine, because he almost got thrown out of power 2 years ago. Even though he was a dictator, his position is still a little shoddy. But yeah, if Ukraine could go after the May 9th parade, I think that would be brilliant. Who knows? I'm sure the Russians are doing a lot of security to make sure they don't. Airplanes. We haven't heard much about airplanes. Donation. I'll end with this since I can recap on the finances. What specific donations are you working on now? Currently, we are still working on the, and then I'll take my break. Well, we'll sit and we'll talk for a couple minutes, just friendly talk. But currently, we have been raising money to buy 2 cars to give to the food aid organization, to one of the food aid organizations in Harkev, the organization that's getting food, preparing it, and delivering it to people that are shut-ins, elderly people, disabled people, people who haven't left their homes, and people who are in the subways living in bomb shelters, because where do you have food if you're in a bomb shelter, right, for 2 months? So we've raised, so we're buying the cars for them. We're filling the cars with food and then driving. Well, the Ukrainians are driving the cars cross country to Harkev and then giving the food and the cars to the aid groups so they can then use the cars to drive and visit more people to give more food. We've got, I was saying at the beginning, 9,230. I was going to say 320. I think it's $230 we've raised from you guys. We've spent 9,500 on getting the 2 cars, because there's also, each of the car needs repairs, and there's paperwork, because it's a car. You got to register the car and all that crazy stuff, like you do here. So Vlad thinks that, thank you for the lights. Vlad, my friend who's been organizing it there, says that he thinks with another $1,200, we should have enough to be able to finish buying the rest of the food and fill the cars up, and the car is being totally repaired, and then it's ready to go. The one car has already been half filled with food. It's being driven to another Ukrainian city where it will be finished filling with food. and then the other car will fill too. Anyway, that's where it stands. But that's the fundraiser we're working on now. And then after they do that, let's see what the next one is. I mean, I like doing it this way because I like kind of being able to do it for specific things we're raising for. I mean, we could always just keep raising and keep giving money to the food groups, like in general. But I like that Vlad and his friends sort of came up with this about doing this sort of unique thing that is able to bring them a ton of food and able to get them vehicles. Anyway, but as I said, the way you can donate, actually, let's put the banner up. You can donate directly via Vlad's PayPal. Oops, where are my banners? Hello, banners. Where are you? Hello, there they are. You can donate directly via Vlad's PayPal. And you can find that on my, I've got it on my screen there for you guys, but for the rest of you, if you go to my TikTok URL in the profile, it says beacons, click it. And the top two things are how you can give to help this. I keep forgetting to say, we're not taking into the money. 100% of the money is going to those guys there to do this, not taking a dime. And it is not tax deductible because this is not a charity. Thank you. Duniamo, was it? Maybe. This is not a charity. You are literally making gifts to Ukrainians who are on the ground and then using the gifts to do all of this. So thank you for helping in that regard. All right. Unless somebody bought something, let's hang out and do it. Yes, let's just hang out here. Let's hang out a few more minutes. And then dinner time. We got a new microwave finally. Mom's microwave was out for a while, so I couldn't make my chocolate mug cake for a while, which probably was good for this. But I'm kind of in the mood to finally make my mug cake again. So hopefully we shall. And yes, hit the thumbs up, obviously, on TikTok. Follow me on both if you would. That's always a good thing on TikTok and Twitter and Twitter and everything. Sasha is 12 and a half years old, but she's a small dog. So knock on wood, she's still been healthy because the little ones can live to be, 17, 18, although they get to be old at that point. The recipe for the mug cake, I've given that to you guys before. It's actually very simple. I actually know it. I pretty much know it, but it's, I actually do know it. I know it. In a mug, dry ingredients first, 3 tablespoons flour, 2 tablespoons sugar, 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder. That's my addition. You don't have to, but I think it gives it a little more lift. Baking powder. I do 3 pinches of salt just because it's a single thing, but I found pinch with your finger 3 times works. And 1.5 tablespoons of baking cocoa, the dry stuff, but baking, it has no sugar. Ironically, the one that I found that it was amazing for Americans, the regular Hershey's cocoa was Mom's got a Hershey's cocoa that says special dark on it. Oh my God. This thing tasted like the best French dessert I ever had. So you put 1.5 tablespoons of the really good dry cooking cocoa in, and mix that all together nicely. Add, it says like 2 tablespoons of chocolate chips to the dry, mix it nicely, but you want to mix it well because you want all the white and everything mixed well because you're not going to do a lot of beating here. You're just going to mix it. Then you put 3 tablespoons of milk. It takes oil. I forgot the oil once and it was delicious without the oil. So I skipped the oil and it was fine. Skip the oil, mix it with a fork or something just to make sure it's mixed, but you don't want to go crazy, but to make sure it's mixed. Then put it in the microwave I put it in a coffee mug. The microwave, anywhere from 30 to 40 seconds, depending on your microwave. It's hard to say because if you overcook it, it's okay, but it's kind of dry. Thank you, Nicolina. I appreciate that. If you overcook it, it's kind of dry. If you undercook it, it's gooey, but it could get so gooey that it's just wet. I mean, there's nothing in there that's going to kill you. It doesn't have eggs or anything, so it doesn't really matter, right? You're cooking chocolate. But in a normal microwave, I find 30 to 40 seconds. It depends. The other thing that's kind of freaky, it depended which mug I used. Different mugs and different bowls heated up differently, and the one that heated up too much actually cooked it too fast, even though it was the same amount of time. But on my microwave, I go 30, 35 seconds. And you'll see on top, basically, you kind of want it looking like it's drying with wet spots still there. Anyway, take it out. I give it maybe 5 minutes because it's too hot. It's not going to be good. Maybe 5 minutes, dollop of ice cream, And oh my God, it's depending on your cocoa, it's either not bad. Thank you for the cake on there. Very timely gift on TikTok. It's either, that was Christy's birthday cake. Thank you. It's either decent or to die for. But the one with Mom's Hershey's cocoa that's a special dark was absolutely to die for. Oh my God. I was shocked. So I would imagine, I mean, Krager's is talking about a really good cocoa, extra brute cocoa berry. I don't know it. But I assume using a better cocoa is going to be delicious. I was surprised because Mom's Greek chicken was delicious. Thank you. I was surprised because the mug cakes I've maxed. Basically, you make a cake in a coffee mug. Thank you for the crown. The ones that I've had before have been okay. This recipe was the only one that started off good. As I said, I forgot the oil, and then without the oil, it was good anyway. So I was like, that's fabulous. Is that Carla? I think it was Carla there. I'm going to put my glasses on so I can see your names again. Thank you for that on TikTok. But as I said, like I've got my regular Hershey's cocoa at home, and I was like, and then I used this special dark cocoa and thought I was going to die. It basically made correctly. It tastes like you're eating a lava cake, a volcano cake, moelleux in French. Those kind of cakes that are like cake and goo. And again, because there's nothing in it like eggs or anything, you don't have to worry about it being undercooked. You're undercooking flour, water, sugar, and chocolate. I mean, there's nothing to undercook. So anyway, very good. Brownies are good too. I'm not going to knock brownies, that's for sure. Oh, anyway. Oh no, Nikita. Oh, that's too bad. Rashida Shepherd. I'm sorry. Oh, that's horrible. Ugh. Yeah, losing dogs is just horrible, you know. I am not a New Yorker. No, I am a Chicagoan. I lived in New York I lived in Long Island for 2 years, but just right in Long Island City. But no, I'm a Chicagoan. There are similarities between Chicago and New York, I've always found. It depends. And it depends which ethnic group too. You know what I mean? Because especially in New York, it's so, God, the ethnicities are so divided in terms of the accents and everything else, right? But no, I'm a Chicagoan. But I did feel very much like I fit in New York in some ways. I liked the people. I didn't like the work people. The people at work I thought were cutthroat. People on the street I loved. Very chatty people like me, which is really fun. What else, guys? The chicken was great. Mom's Greek chicken was great the other week, Poppy. Thanks for asking. Yes, you can watch the replay on YouTube, just for the TikTok folks, or even if people are late on YouTube. Well, if you're late on YouTube, you already know. You can go to my profile and it'll be there. I will, once the show finishes, I will put it up there. So you'll go to the top of my homepage, not my profile, my homepage on YouTube, and you'll see the video. So usually half the people watch it there. But I am just finishing up. Sorry, Crickerton. We've been doing this since hour and a half. So sorry. But other than that, yeah. Sorry, I can hear Mom lingering outside the door. I think she's lingering. Probably seeing when we're eating. Although I just had some of my leftover tortellini from last night from Costco, so I may not be eating anytime soon, the way it's looking. Anywho, all right, guys. It's 6:30. I am going to batten down the hatches and see what we're doing, at least eat a small dinner. What else we got here? 4 Chihuahuas. Oh my God. Yep. I was in Queens, Motek. Yep. Right across the river from the UN, basically. Beautiful. Oh, nice area. Very nice area to live. And I was literally right on the water. It was ridiculously gorgeous. Oh, ridiculously gorgeous. Just overlooking. It was the view I always wanted. My apartment literally looked over the New York skyline, unobstructed view of the New York skyline. It was sick. How the view that I had. Absolutely sick. Oh. Anyway, all right, guys, let's, today is what, Wednesday? We're going to do this tomorrow, same bat time. So 5 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Eastern. Actually, Europeans, tell me. So are we correct then that, are we correct then that 5 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Eastern is 2300 UTC? Thank you, Ashley. Every time you do that, I forget, and then I go, oh yeah, Ashley, thank you for that on TikTok. So is 2300 UTC the same as 5 p.m. Central and 6 p.m. Eastern? In other words, 6 p.m. New York time, is it 2300 UTC or 22? Because I used to use UTC and the online converter hasn't kept up with the time change in Europe. So I got totally screwed up. Yeah, I don't want the time in UK. I just want to know like a generic time to give you guys. So it is 2300 UTC. Okay, good. All right, then that's what I'm going to put. Just because I want to put I'm surprised because for me it's kind of easy, but I'm surprised sometimes when people ask me, they're like, "Yeah, but what is that in Europe?" And I'm like, "I don't know. Just Google the difference." I don't know. But for some folks, it's a little easier to put it that way. It's the same as GMT. Okay. Well, somebody told me to use UTC instead of GMT. Should I use GMT? Does that make more sense? I mean, before we sign off, you foreigners, I guess I'm a foreigner too, to you guys. But should I use UTC is just a universal time code that you can use. Oh, thank you, Canalsi, for that. And the hat, our last minute gifts. Appreciate it, guys. Should I call it UTC or GMT? Which way is more recognizable to people? Thank you, Jody's. Nice of you to say. Which way is more recognizable? GMT? Okay, I'll say, I mean, I can say GMT, same difference. I've always heard GMT, only recently it was, but in any case, GMT is the same as UTC. So it's still 6 p.m. Eastern in New York is 2300 GMT, as long as we're correct. The GMT and UTC are the same. I'm going to wait one last time for you guys to tell me it's the same. Okay. I trust you then. I trust you there, and I'm going to screw it up again. Oops, and the dogs are, well, Kukla's moving. Sasha's still asleep. My dog's still asleep underneath. Mom's dog is moving there. Oh, hey, no, you? Oof. Hi. Oof. Oof. See, I mean, all right, do you want to say hi? Come here, Kukla. Come here. Let's say hi. Come here. Oh my gosh. Come here. Oh my gosh. Mom's dog likes to be very loud and say hi. Kukla. Oh, there you, I got you. Oh my gosh. Who's that? You're going to look through. Oh, thank you. Now you look at my hand. This is Mom's dog, Kukla, who's 13 and a half. I would say she's not necessarily the brightest dog, but she's very, oh, thank you. She's very sweet. Oh, I'll put you down. And very vocal. So like that was Kukla waking up and I looked over at her. So she was saying, say hi to me. And she's literally like, say hi to me. There we go. Yes, like a corgi. Oh my God, she's a trip. I do like her now. My mic fell. She knocked my mic off. Sorry. Oh my God. All right, guys, I'm going to go. TikTokers, good night. I'm going to wait for you guys to start saying good night. So I know you got the good night because you're about 30-second delay from me. YouTubers, same thing. We will do tomorrow and I will put it up as 5 p.m. Central, 2300 GMT. That's how I'll put it all. All right. No, thanks guys. Appreciate it. I enjoy doing this. We'll keep it up. Knock on wood. Keep it going. Exactly. These are allowing Mom. It is true. I do take over Mom's mom's family room for this. Although she minds a little bit. The other day she tried to come in an hour before the show. It was like, I just want to come in and watch a little TV. And I was like, no. Well, no, she's got a TV in the kitchen. So it's not like I'm keeping Mom from her TV, but you know. Anyway, all right, guys, I'm going to hang up on YouTube first since you guys aren't delayed. Good to see you guys. We'll see you tomorrow.